Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Open Look podcast. If you don't know what we look like, these two beautiful faces, wherever Dave is, this is what we look like. Of course, I'm the handsome one. He's
Here we
lacking.
go. At least you guys can tell when I'm sarcastic whenever he says he's handsome, right?
Yeah, okay. But we thought that, and after some of your suggestions, that we needed to show you our faces and give you guys another platform to follow the Open Look on. So here we are on YouTube. First and foremost, if you like the video, hit that like button. It's right down there. Then you hit the subscribe button. It's somewhere down there. And then that bell icon, which is somewhere down there. And then leave us a comment and tell us that you did it. What that does is it helps us get exposed to other people who don't really listen to the show on the podcast or here on YouTube. And we're not ending the podcast, just to answer that question. The podcast is going to be ongoing. Essentially what this is, it's going to be giving you guys a little bit of additional FaceTime with us, or vice versa, us having a little more FaceTime with you guys. Basically giving you guys a chance to hear the podcast on a different platform. So the idea here with the YouTube channel is a couple things. You guys can, if you're at work, you don't have access to your iTunes or your Spotify or your Stitcher or whatever it is, but you do have access to your Google account, your YouTube. Essentially what you could do, you just go ahead and put our video on play, and you could listen to it just like you would the podcast. If you're on the podcast, you're probably hearing this too, and you're curious, visit us on YouTube. It's the Open Look podcast, just like you would find it on iTunes, Spotify. It is really hard to say Spotify and Stitcher back to back. But anyways, that's essentially what the whole idea is, guys. So make sure you follow us on all of our platforms. And also, you'll see that, our handles on Facebook and Instagram are in the bottom left-hand corner of our little talking box here. So at the Open Look podcast, best way to keep up with everything that we're doing. One thing that you're not going to get on the podcast that you will get by following the YouTube channel is there going to be a lot more shorter videos. We didn't think it made any sense to have 10 or 15-minute podcasts. And if you guys want that, let us know, because we can make it happen. But we can definitely put together 10 to 15-minute videos and put them on YouTube. It's a lot easier to do it that way. So, be sure to let us know how you want us to improve, and we'll take your suggestions, into consideration. Just, again, right down there in the comments box, let us know what you want. If you think I'm ugly and Dave is ugly, you can tell us. We won't be hurt. We're big boys. If you think I'm handsome and Dave is ugly, then you're right, first of all. And second of all, you can just I'm
so happy the viewers can see my sarcasm face. It's just a beautiful thing.
Well, Dave, the folks are here to talk about basketball. Let's get into it, man. We're definitely going to get into the Anthony Davis trade. That's the biggest news so far this week. Dave, you wouldn't know that the Raptors beat the Golden State Warriors with all the buzz surrounding Anthony Davis. So what happened is that the Golden State Warriors basically started falling like flies, and the Raptors won that series. Do you think it's more to do with what the Raptors did, or do you think it had more to do with the injuries, or do you think it's an even amalgamation of both?
Boy, I mean, this was quite a series. I'll tell you that much. Kevin Durant, as you know, tried to come back in, I think it was game number 4, right? Or game number 5, something of that nature. And
it was 5.
Yeah, and he went ahead and ruptured his Achilles. Probably the worst injury you could have, and I'm sure we'll have a segment of that of injuries. But I mean, this man tried to toughen it out. It was a quad injury, I believe, the first time, and now it became a really bad Achilles injury. And now he's probably done for all of the 2019-2020 season completely. And then you had a guy like Klay Thompson got hurt in Game 6, the deciding game. His knee buckled up, tore his ACL. He's probably done for the year as well.
And he was lighting it up.
This guy is so underrated as a player. This guy can shoot, he can defend, he can do everything. He is a big part of what the Golden State Warriors do. And believe it or not, in Game 6, they had an opportunity to win. I mean, they had an opportunity to finish that game, didn't do it. Curry has been questioned as not being clutched, and so on and so forth.
Well, Dave, I mean, if we look at that game, I texted you, I want to say like third quarter, like
Right.
midway through the third quarter, early fourth quarter. And I was like, man, Toronto's wasting so much shot clock right now. They are not playing as well as they should be right now. I do not see how they're going to win this game, but they came back and did it.
Well, the thing is that Toronto probably could have won the game in Game 5, and they just didn't execute down the stretch. So it went back to Oracle Arena, and it looked like they were not going to execute again. If it wasn't for Siakam, making a little driving move towards the end of the game, a loose ball, a really pretty bad miss by Steph Curry, who had a good look at the end of the game, and then calling a timeout when they didn't have any, cost them the game essentially at the end. But I mean, once you take Clay and Kevin Durant out of it, you basically have Draymond and Steph Curry running the show, and that's just not going to get the job done, especially with a Toronto team that is so deep. I mean, can we talk about the depth of Toronto? They were really deep as a basketball team.
Not a single player chosen in the lottery on that team.
I mean, it's unbelievable to know that Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam are both G League players and are just had quite a series, an amazing series. Marc Gasol is Marc Gasol. He's aged now. He's not as good as he used to be, but he did what he can. But Kyle Lowry, I mean, he just had probably the best half of his career. I mean, he was just on fire. It was spectacular for them. But the game was close, and I thought Golden State might have a chance to win that game. They didn't. I don't know how Game 7 would have turned out, but certainly I think the injuries had a lot to do with Golden State not turning the tables and winning this thing.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, because as we talk about later in the Anthony Davis business here, Toronto did this with players you wouldn't expect to do this. Kawhi Leonard, of course, terrific all throughout the playoffs. But we said back at the beginning of the Milwaukee series on the podcast that if Kyle Lowry stepped up, this team had a different dimension. They had a different gear. And the man he did it. And speaking of things that we said on the podcast, Dave, we said that if the Raptors won Game 1, they would definitely be able to run the table on this. And I think we were trying to sell ourselves on the Raptors, but we didn't want to go all in on them.
Yeah, the funny thing is, John, is that this series went 1-1. And then I kind of said to myself, well, it's going to be hard for Toronto to win in Oracle Arena. But this is the same Toronto team that went into Milwaukee and won some critical games, went into Philadelphia. Was it Philadelphia? No, not Philadelphia. But went into who do they have in the first round?
They had Orlando. Yeah.
Orlando. Went in and finished the job in Orlando. They won both games in Orlando. So, I mean, this team was able to win on the road, and to go up 3-1 after leaving Oracle Arena after 4 games was really impressive. I was really impressed with it. I thought this team was going to finish it in 5. To be honest with you, I thought this series was over. The fact that Kevin Durant came and played hero and got them all amped up and they were able to win in Game 5 really just swung it to Game 6. But again, the depth of Toronto really killed them. I mean, Fred VanVleet had some shots that I couldn't even make, and he was just phenomenal as a basketball player. He was there at the end of the game. I mean, so he was a big part of what they did. And, Pat McCall, I guess, 3-peat champ. There's a joke about him, but he's like a good luck charm or something like that. But, I mean, this team played well. Kawhi Leonard at times struggled, but because of that depth, because they had Kyle Lowry, who actually started the playoffs with 0 points, if you recall, and then just kind of turned it on after that. He was fantastic. Fred VanVleet was fantastic. Pascal Siakam put up 26 points in that Game 6 decider. Serge Ibaka blocked a lot of shots. He was a big-time reason of the interior defense. And they played well. They played well to stop Steph Curry. I thought this was the series that Steph Curry was going to be the man. I thought he was going to be the finals MVP. But, he wasn't a shed of himself. And I think not having Clay at 100 and KD at 100 really put its toll on Curry. He just couldn't do it by himself.
But it happens, though. You see every dynasty, right? I mean, they played so many games over the past 5 years. It had to give some time. I mean, these guys are human, right? yeah, they are world-class athletes, but they to go the distance 5 years in a row, it really is a difficult thing to do, considering you're day in, day out in the gym, playing games every other day. Everyone's giving it 110% against you if you're the Golden State Warriors. I'm surprised that it took this long for them to fall apart the way that they did.
I mean, they went to the NBA Finals 5 times, and it's been the same core group. At least LeBron James, when he was going, he went for the first 4 years. He had his core group. They didn't really do much. They won 2, and then he had another 4 years with Cleveland. And if you recall, the very first year that he was in Cleveland, Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving didn't even play in that series, and that's essentially what won for Golden State. So, yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't kick in earlier. I mean, this is a team that's been pretty healthy for 5 years. And 5 years making runs into the finals and winning the finals, I'm very surprised. I mean, I think Clay's is more of an accident in more than anything else. But then again, he injured that same leg that I think he may have overcompensated on that knee, and so that could have been the cause too. But KD essentially being the guy that went down very early in these playoffs, the fact that they were able to get through Houston, sweep Portland without KD, and then everybody was talking about, well, they don't need KD, they're way better. They were still predicted to win this series without KD. He's the X factor. He would have been a big, big difference maker. I think Kawhi guarding KD would have been a big problem for him, and I think KD guarding Kawhi would have been a great matchup.
Lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas in this situation, but I mean, hey. The Raptors did the unthinkable. If you bet on the Raptors to win the championship at the beginning of this season, you're a rich person right now.
Yeah.
You made a lot of money. What were they, like 100-1 or something like that? Or like I think it was 400-1. Something, I don't know what the odds were, but
I mean, look, the Raptors, they really impress you after they went down 2 games to. If you recall Milwaukee, they were down 2-0. They go off and they win the next 4. And that was impressive. I think Philadelphia really put them up to the challenge to be ready for these finals, because Philadelphia had enough. I mean, they had a 4-headed monster that was pretty good. Lost on a last-minute shot by Kawhi Leonard that bounced around 5 times before it went in. But that was quite a series. That actually prepped them to be ready for Milwaukee and be ready for Golden State, teams that had talent and have the right players and have superstar guys on their team. So I thought they were prepared. I mean, the run to the playoffs, to have to go through Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Golden State to win the championship, that's really, really impressive.
They did do an awesome job this season. But, Dave, the people saw the thumbnail, man. They're here to talk about Anthony Davis.
They are.
They're here to talk about Anthony Davis. I mean, the finals are great, but they're not even the biggest story this week.
It took about 24 hours, 48 hours or so before this thing actually went through. Actually, the trade happened on Friday and the championship was Thursday, I want to say.
Well, the trade hasn't officially happened, and that's going to be a talking point.
Right.
But it was sort of agreed upon, for lack of a better term. Do you want to go ahead and run down the trade?
Yeah, you know what? It's complicated. But we know the Lakers are receiving Anthony Davis. But the Hornets, on the other hand, are getting Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, this year's number 4 pick. They get a 2021 top 8 protected first-round pick. If that doesn't happen, it becomes an unprotected first-round pick in 2022. They've got a 2023 first-round pick, unprotected swap, and then an unprotected first-round pick in 2024. And then a 2025 first-round pick, unprotected. It's quite an overhaul for one guy. And then outside of
but
okay.
Let's talk about that one guy. Or do you have something to add to that?
No, go ahead.
That one guy has the 3rd best player efficiency rating in NBA history. He ain't no scrub, baby.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, look, you're getting Anthony Davis. You're pairing him with LeBron James. If I were to name the top 5 players in this league, and I'm sure there's a debate, but I'm pretty sure LeBron James and Anthony Davis are in the top 5. And when you put those two together, and a lot of people have kind of written off LeBron James, he's too old, he doesn't look like a shell of himself. there's too much mileage, blah, 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 blah. Basically, you've reinvented this LeBron James to have a guy like Anthony Davis. And I'm going to go off on a limb here, John, and I'm going to tell you that this is the best player that LeBron James has ever had as a teammate out of all the players that he has. I'm not discounting Dwayne Wade. I'm not discounting Kyrie Irving and Chris Bosh and Kevin Love. I'm not. But Anthony Davis just brings a totally different dimension to what he's ever had in his lifetime. Anthony Davis is a man among men. This guy is easily could be the defensive player of the year every year. Could be the MVP almost every year. He's starting to be a little more healthy. Before it was a question of whether he could stay healthy. He's gotten bigger. He's a tall man. This guy used to be a point guard before he grew, I don't know, like 100 feet. So this is quite an impressive deal. And I get it. I know a lot of people will say it's an overhaul, but I'm gonna throw some things at you. Lonzo Ball, in the 2 seasons that he's been there, hasn't been able to stay healthy. He hasn't probably played more than 50, 55 games in the 2 seasons he's been there. He's got an awful looking shot. He shoots extremely bad from the free throw line. He's got a very high basketball IQ. He's a very good defender. He's a very good assist man. He can definitely create, but he's always had a knock. He can't really shoot the ball that well. He shoots way under 50% from the free throw line. That's not very good for a point guard at all. And he needed to be a knockdown 3-point shooter, which he is not. So you've got that. And then you've got Brandon Ingram, who also, in the 3 years that he's been playing in the league, hasn't been able to play fully healthy seasons. He probably has played at most 60 games in 1 year. Now, he had a very big scare, John, and we know very well about this blood clot business that he's got. And we don't know the severity. We know that it's been taken care of right now. But if you recall, there's a certain Chris Bosh who also thought he had it taken care of as well. And that didn't turn out to be very good. And it actually ended his season. So you've got 2 guys. Okay, they've got a lot of potential. Josh Hart was a late first rounder. He played 4 years at Villanova. He's won a national championship. Very nice defender. Can knock down the corner 3. Reminds me of Bruce Bowen. He's a nice player, but he too had some issues with his knee towards the end of the year last year and had to have it taken care of. So now you've got essentially 3 guys who have a lot of potential, but there's no superstar for a superstar. And that's what I think David Griffin wanted to have, was a superstar for a superstar. He's not getting that. Do they have potential to be a superstar? Yeah, they're 21 years old, 24 years old. I get it, fine. And you're probably going to get an 18-year-old at the number 4 pick this season. I think the number 4 pick, for the Lakers to even got to the number 4 pick, that's exciting. I mean, that's an amazing thing. So
well, that number 4 pick is probably what made it happen. But I want to backtrack. I want to rewind like 3 months when everyone and their mom was saying that the Lakers prospects were overrated. Magic is just talking them up. They're not worth anything. They're all busts. They're not very good. And now all of a sudden the Lakers are giving up too much. It just doesn't make any sense to me when you listen to the media, what they were saying 3 months ago and what everyone's saying now. Right. Is it a lot to give up? Yeah, absolutely. These players are pretty good. Are they going to set the world on fire? I've, throughout the season, had a lot to say about Brandon Ingram that wasn't very positive.
Right.
Maybe towards the end of the season he was showing some flashes. I'm still not convinced. I don't think he's going to be the Kevin Durant clone that everyone is saying that he's going to be.
Right.
I don't see it happening. He can't shoot. He just can't shoot from 3. His free throw shooting isn't that great either. So, I mean, yeah, if we're talking about a guy who's going to sit here and pull up and shoot mid-range jumpers, I mean, he's not that special. Lonzo Ball, I think Lonzo's upside, I think at this point right now is higher than Ingram's. I think you have a first-class point guard in Lonzo Ball. And if that's the cost of getting a once-in-a-lifetime talent like Anthony Davis,
right,
and so be it. I mean, I don't think Lonzo Ball is going to be a generational talent. Is he going to be good? Sure, yeah. Could he have been better with Jason Kidd tutoring him on the Lakers coaching staff? I think so. But he wasn't going to set the world on fire. He wasn't going to win you championships. And that's what you're getting with Anthony Davis. With that in mind, let's talk about the prospects here. I'm gonna start off with this, Dave, here, because I think that this deal – ultimately, when it's all said and done, will depend on what Rob Pelinka and the Lakers front office do with the remaining cap space. So
Right.
first and foremost, we got to talk about the timing, right? Because if the trade goes down on July 6th, when the official league season starts, then the Lakers have $23 million in cap space. That's not going to get you any max players, okay?
Right.
If Anthony Davis waives his trade kicker, that'll save them $4 million. There's no indication he's going to do that. I don't know why he would, unless it was just out of the kindness of his heart. If he's that great of a guy, sure. If I was him, I'd say no thanks.
Yeah.
If they wait until July 30th, when they select the number 4 pick for New Orleans, and then consummate the trade on July 30th, then their cap space goes to $32.5 million, which you can sign a max player for that number. And I believe the Hornets get an additional $4 million.
Pelicans. Don't call them the Hornets.
I do it all the time, man. I still can't get used to the Hornets.
Well, you're right, John. I mean, look, if the AD trade is completed by August 1st, the Lakers get $32.5 million to spend. If it happens July 6th, the Lakers get to $29.4 million if AD waives his trade bonus and they deal Wagner and Bonga. If they don't trade either one of them, the Lakers, if AD again waives his trade bonus, they'll have $27.8 million to spend on a free agent. So yeah, timing is very, very important at this point.
But the point is, what they do with that money is going to determine the success of this trade for this team.
Right.
New Orleans is going to be what they are. They're going to have a nice cache of draft picks. The trade won't be decided for them until 7 years from now. Okay. Right. For the Lakers, though, you have to put shooters around these guys. We're hearing Kemba Walker, Kyrie Irving, even today Kawhi Leonard's name has been mentioned. If you can get one of those guys, great. I don't think any of them will sign for $23 million, though. Okay. There's word that if Kyrie goes to Brooklyn, that D'Angelo Russell will be available. You can fit him into that slot. But would he come back to the Lakers after that whole fiasco that happened before?
If I'm Rob Pelinka, I go ahead and blame Magic Johnson. He's not here anymore. So
right, easy way to do it. But what I'm thinking the best way to go about this is to break that cap space up and get guys around them who can perform. I'm looking at a guy like Danny Green or in that mold, Terry Rozier, who you could probably get within that slot as well. Center from Utah, Derek Favors. If you can get him, he would fit perfectly
right
with Anthony Davis in that front court. Is DeMarcus Cousins willing to play ball at a discount price? We saw that he showed flashes of his old self in the finals. He was bullying guys. I would, at a discount, give it a shot for a year or two. Where do you go from here? What are you prioritizing for the Lakers this offseason? Are you going to go for the home run signing, or are you going to go with smaller, more sensible signings?
I like the smaller, sensible signings, but I think if you're trying to build something for the next at least 10 years, I got to look at two guys. And you could look at Jimmy Butler too, but he's 29 years old. Here's what I've put up a scenario that I think would be good. And again, you could take me any way that you'd like. Right now you have Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Kyle Kuzma. That's your starting front court. If you were to get Kawhi Leonard in some sort of fashion, I don't know how. I know the man made $20 million this past season. I expect him to decline his option and essentially leave Toronto. He is from LA. He's from Riverside. He went to San Diego State. We know exactly his story. Let's first say I get Kawhi Leonard. So now I've used up good space. I do have where I could get veteran minimums. Why wouldn't I go talk to Seth Curry, who probably would love to get paid even more money in some sort of fashion, and tell him, Seth Curry, you're going to be the starting point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers, a storied franchise that now has Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Kyle Kuzma. I don't think he blinks. I don't know if he'll do it to his brother that way, but I don't think he blinks. So let's say we potentially get Seth Curry. Now we need a bench. As you know, we only have Isaac Bonga and Mo Wagner. I say you were able to get Brook Lopez for very cheap, Milwaukee, and I still don't think that the market for Brook Lopez will be big. I do Brook Lopez veteran minimum.
You sure about that? Because Brook Lopez is going to get paid.
This is how I'm looking at it. No, look at it. Look, I want to tell you something. I think that you sell to Brook Lopez, you're going to get a championship. Your legacy now is to get a champion. You're 30-some-odd years old.
He made $2 million last year, Dave.
I get it. But you're talking – but let's look at the overall earning for Brook Lopez. And he went to Milwaukee on the belief that they can get to an NBA championship. So let's say per se. And I could swap him with McGee because McGee will come for veterans minimum. I'm almost guaranteed that. But let's say we get Brook Lopez because we need shooters. And then you have Mo Wagner. You're going to groom him as the power forward. You're going to groom him as being the next guy to step it up. And then I go and I call a guy like Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza this past year made $16 million from the Phoenix Suns and then got traded to the Wizards. And you know the Wizards love taking big contracts anyways. And I go to a 34-year-old Trevor Ariza and I say, I know you have a championship, but you have an opportunity to be a part of a really good team, at least for the remainder of your career. We need a wing guy that can come in and fill it up. We know you can knock down the three. We know you're a good defender. We need a backup small forward. I talked Trevor Ariza into this. Then I look at another guy who needs to resurrect his career, Avery Bradley. Now, Avery Bradley was a guy that got paid $8 million last year. He's been tossed around. He hasn't been the same Avery Bradley since he was with the Boston Celtics. He's definitely a two-way player. He can knock down the three. He can defend. He can do everything. He's almost like Josh Hart, very similar in the style that they play. So I go ahead and I sell Avery Bradley as well. And then I got Alex Caruso. And I think Alex Caruso is fantastic. I don't think the Lakers should invest in Rajon Rondo. I think Rajon Rondo coming to the Lakers would be a mistake. But if the Lakers can get Rajon Rondo at a discounted price, I say get Rajon Rondo. I doubt after he goes $9 million, he's going to go to a $1.5 million or $1 million or whatever it is that he's going to get. So I get Alex Caruso there. I've got Isaac Bonga. I go ahead and bring Tyson Chandler back for insurance. And now I've got 12 guys. And then I go into the pool of the G League. That Jamario Jones, he was fantastic last year at the end of the year after the Lakers were bad. I've got him. He's got a partially guaranteed contract. It becomes full in January. So I've got him signed. I bring him along, and I bring Isaac Bonga along, and I've got Tyson Chandler. I've got 13 guys to fill it up. And what better way to do that? Now, let's say, for instance, you don't get Kawhi Leonard. Now we go to the next thing. Now we've heard Kyrie Irving wants to be playing with Anthony Davis. So I'm still going to keep my bench exactly the same way as. I'm not going to go through this again. But now I need a shooting guard. What is to stop me from hitting up a J.J. Redick this summer, a guy who's made $20 million with the Philadelphia 76ers for the past 2 seasons? He's 34 years old. He's never won an NBA championship. I put him with Kyrie Irving in the backcourt. He's the perfect shooter for a guy who's going to be wide open the entire time because of LeBron James and Anthony Davis doing everything.
Let me stop you for a second on J.J. Redick. The problem with J.J. Redick is he can't defend, and you need another backcourt defender.
I'm not worried about the defense. I'm going to be honest with you. The way the NBA rolls right now, there's no defense being played anyways.
Okay, that's nonsense because you look at the team that just won the championship and they defended so well throughout the playoffs. You have to give them some credit. And hold on before you continue with your blasphemy. Okay, the reason that the Warriors were still in that game 6 down the wire is because they played terrific defense throughout the game.
I'm not telling you no, John, but what I'm saying is I don't have much money to spend. So if I'm already filling out my roster the way I did, and we know what the backups look like. If J.J. Redick is the one guy that can't play defense on my team but can knock down the three because he's going to get a lot of open looks, I think it's a gamble that I'm worth taking. I'm willing to take a gamble that when any of those guards try to come to the middle, they're going to have a big problem, especially with Kyle and Anthony Davis and LeBron James kind of being right there with them. So, you know, Kyrie doesn't play any defense, so they would have issues on the perimeter no matter what. But what I'm thinking is it's a three-point league anyways. You're not going to stop James Harden from doing his step-back travel in the three-point spot. You're not going to stop Klay Thompson from going through screens and knocking down the three. You're not going to stop Steph Curry because he's got mad handles and he can go ahead and shoot the three whenever he wants. You're not going to be able to do that. And those are essentially the guys that are running this league. So I'm going to go pound for pound for them. I'm going to go get offensive guys to come in because they're going to get so many open, wide looks. Kyle Kuzma better be ready to shoot and better be ready to knock it down because he's going to be so wide open, he's not going to know what to do with himself. So
yeah,
that's a way to do it. I mean, you could argue there's other guys, but I don't know. I looked at T.J. McConnell, another guy who could be real cheap. Nick Stauskas could be real cheap. These aren't top-tier players, but they're guys that I can put on this basketball team that I don't have to spend much money on. They'll want to play. They'll be on a championship team. You know, it's almost like Quentin Cook. Same thing.
Well, let's be realistic here, all right? Because I'm going to tell you right now, Brook Lopez is not coming for the veterans minimum. I don't care what you try to tell me right now, how you try to sell it to me. He's not coming for the veterans minimum, especially to a team that just discarded him last year.
Yeah, but then I can go ahead and blame Magic Johnson about that again. It'll be another out.
I agree. But here's how I would do it. The two guys I would be targeting is Derek Favors and Terry Rozier. I think those two players would fit terrifically with this team. The spacing would be perfect. Derek Favors can do dirty work.
John, I'm gonna have to tell you something. If Kyrie Irving isn't coming through that door in Boston, there is no doubt in my mind that Boston will retain him. He's a restricted free agent. So I'm almost guaranteed Terry Rozier is going to come back. And if you saw Terry Rozier 2 years ago when he took that team to the Eastern Conference Finals, he was pretty fantastic. He'll be the next young buck that's on that team.
Let me throw a wild card out here for you. I said it earlier in the podcast during our playoff preview, I want to say. Or actually, no, even before that. But how about the guy that the Sixers have to decide on? If we're talking about open look, knockdown shooters, you got to talk about Tobias Harris. And he's not a scrub on the defensive end either. I mean, he's not the best defender there is, but he can play defense. I mean, I think you
and
might
he's young. And he's still young.
Exactly. He's young. You could probably get him for that $23 million and surround him with vet minimum guys. I think that team is very difficult to beat.
Yeah, but where does Kyle Kuzma go? I mean, if you get, let's say you get Tobias Harris, where does Kyle Kuzma go?
I personally, I think no matter what you do, Kyle Kuzma needs to come off the bench because you need some bench punch. I'm totally blanking right here.
You know the funny thing, I think Jimmy Butler could come for that amount of money as well.
I'm thinking guy who has the mad handle. I can't remember people's names on these podcasts before. I'm sorry.
What team?
Huh?
What team?
Jamal Crawford is who I'm thinking of. Is he still playing?
Oh, man, Jamal Crawford's like 45 years old, 55 years old. Who knows how old that man is?
He can still hoop, man. He can still do this. He can still do his thing.
We're not trying to get some guy to get a champion. We might as well bring in Vince Carter too while we're at it. I mean, come on.
Why not? But no, I mean, you got to get creative here if you're the Lakers. I mean, that's the point I'm trying to make. Somebody in that mold is really what I'm trying to say here. Is Jamal Crawford for years has really been the dominant bench player, and again, you talk about who is it now in the same mold, right? You got again, I'm forgetting the name here. I shouldn't be doing this from the Clippers.
Who? Pat Beverly.
Well, no, off the bench, sixth man.
Oh, Lou Williams.
Lou Williams. I'm so sorry, folks. I might have to edit this out, but I might leave it. I might leave it for you guys to just laugh at me and give me mean, nasty comments. It's the first time on video, guys. I'm off here. My bad. But yeah, Lou Williams. That type of player is who you need coming off the bench. And if Kyle Kuzma, I mean, yeah, he's not a point guard like those guys, but if he can be that spark plug off the bench, kind of how Lamar Odom was earlier in the decade or last decade when the Lakers were winning their championships. Can you believe that was last decade?
Yeah.
We've stunk for so long. But, yeah, I mean, you got to get creative here, and you got to assemble this team in a more practical fashion than you've done in the past. You're not restricted to one-year deals anymore. So if you can get guys to take years over money, I would do that. That's something that I would do because you got to go all in for the next 2 to 3 years here.
I mean, look at it this way, John. I think you could go 1+1. Let's say the Lakers can't pull this off, July 30th, August 1st, and all indications are they're not going to be able to. But if you do a 1+1, let's say I sign a guy for the entire 27 mil or whatever the case may be, and you're hoping that AD does, declines his $4 million bonus and stuff like that. And you're hoping for that because you're telling AD essentially that next summer, I'm going to pay you big money to be here for the next 5 years anyway. So, we've already traded for you. And I'm pretty sure he's not going anywhere. I'm sure they got some sort of commitment from him that he's going to be around for quite some time. So they wouldn't have overhauled that basketball team. So,
hey, but things can change, Dave. Remember Dwight Howard.
Well, Dwight Howard was in a different situation. You got to realize, and it is possible, but there was a certain Kobe Bryant who was alienating him all the way. But then there was a Kobe Bryant who also tore his Achilles that year, and he kind of saw the writing on the wall that the Lakers aren't going to be very good afterwards. So the Lakers made a lot of mistakes with Dwight Howard. But you look at that Dwight Howard trade, if they don't make that trade, they were going to send max money to Andrew Bynum, if you recall. And Andrew Bynum hasn't played a lick of basketball whatsoever since after that deal. I mean, he hasn't done anything. In fact, he's still trying to get in the league, and he can't even do it. He was young when he's out of the league. So it's a different scenario. I think LeBron having Rich Paul as his agent, and obviously Anthony Davis is Rich Paul as his agent, I'm pretty sure they'll get along just fine. And I think that they'll want to make something happen for the next 3 years of LeBron's career. I think LeBron James has about a 1 to 2 year window. I'm going to say year number 3, he's going to tail off. He's not going to be as good as he was. And you don't know, again, the mileage that he's put on. If he gets some sort of injury, remember, he literally went down and sat down for 17 games in the season. The Lakers were in 4th place when he went down. They were fantastic on Christmas Day, and then he went down. So you figure LeBron probably has 2 more healthy seasons, maybe 3, because that's all that's left. The Lakers are in good shape. They still have their first-round draft choice in 2020. They still have their first-round draft choice in 2021, as long as it's not even in the top 8. So, I mean, they're still looking good for at least the next 2 years with draft choices as well, so they can fill up their roster. So I like where the Lakers are at. I like the trade, and I think, yes, they have to be very creative with who they're going to bring in. I think I'm pretty creative with what I just told you. So I'm hoping if Rob Pelinka is listening, get a little.
He's probably not listening. But let's make this the last word here. What's your best case scenario and what's your worst case scenario? And let's give a realistic scenario too, something in the middle.
Okay, the best case scenario is they end up with either Kawhi or Kyrie and fill up their roster. That's the very best case scenario. The worst case scenario is, yes, you start filling up your team with the likes of, JJ Redick, Danny Green, Derek Favors. Hell, you could even look at Derrick Rose. I mean, he had quite a year, and he shot the 3-ball extremely well. So you could easily get some of these guys with the $27 million or $23 million that you're going to have. You can spread that around really quite nicely. But I think the Lakers, without a doubt, they're trying to look at the next 10 years. AD being at 26 years old, Kyrie being 26, Kawhi being 27. They could run amok in this NBA for the next 10 years and be really, really good. This is way after LeBron James leaves, and they could just run the NBA for quite some time. So I think they want to get that special player to be with AD for the long time. They have Kyle Kuzma, but I don't think they're putting a lot of stock that Kyle Kuzma is going to be a superstar. He's going to be a nice player with them, but he's not a superstar. I think they've always been superstar driven. I think they're going to try to cash in on a big-time superstar, and I think it's either KD or Kawhi or Kyrie. And if not, it's Jimmy Butler at 29 years old and sign him for 3-4 years.
Here's the thing. Realistically, I don't think New Orleans is going to play ball, and I think this deal is going to get called in on July 6th. I'm going into this with the idea that you're looking at $23 million of cap space, not the other way around. So realistically, what I think is going to happen is they're going to break that money up amongst other guys. We hear Danny Green's name being mentioned. I would welcome him with open arms on maybe like 2+1 deal. Again, Derek Favors, I can't say enough. I think he's a poor man's DeMarcus Cousins, and I would take that if it means I don't have to pay DeMarcus Cousins top dollar. If DeMarcus Cousins wants to come here and he's open to take a haircut, I'm down with that. I would love to see DeMarcus Cousins have a chance with AD again, because towards the end of their time together in New Orleans, they were really starting to make that happen. And at this point in LeBron's career, he needs to be able to step back and take a break during games. So you don't need him on the floor as much as you needed him last year and the years before. Load management is the term, right? So
Hey, it worked out for a certain guy named Kawhi Leonard. So
right, yeah. So I mean, we'll see. But how do you think this year ends up for the Lakers?
well, you and I know that the draft's on Thursday. We're doing this podcast on Monday, June 17th. The NBA draft's on the 20th. We're probably going to talk about the draft after the draft. And come June 30th, it's time to negotiate. And I think the Lakers have to talk to everybody. I think they have to talk to Kawhi.
Well, no, I'm talking about the end of the year. When we're sitting here this time next year, what do you think will be?
I'm hoping it's an NBA championship for the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm hoping. I mean, look, they're favored to win now. They're 5-1. Vegas odds, I knew that before the AD trade even went through. So, you grab another superstar. It's gonna be hard to stop the Lakers altogether. It's almost like the way KD and Golden State happened to be, where they were just favored all the time. So I think that if they can add one more All-Star, one more max guy, and I know that $23 million is killing you, and it's killing me too. I'm hoping AD declines his $4 million option and makes it 27. At least
27 is a whole lot easier to sell.
27 we could swallow 27, but and that would be a significant raise for anybody. Kawhi Leonard, who made $20 million, Jimmy Butler made $20 million. I mean, those guys would be happy to take a $26 million and just make it 1 + 1. I mean, 1 and then decline it.
You need 2 + 1 for bird rights. So
something of that nature, and you go ahead and maybe you're gonna have to be creative. You got to realize the Lakers are still stuck with Luol Deng. I mean, they're still paying the man $5 million this year, $5 million next year. So it doesn't even matter. So until
but the thing that's what's driving me nuts, man. I said it on the podcast. You didn't need to waive him last year because you weren't getting that second guy, and now he's coming off the books. You would have been able to make this happen with no issue.
Well, I mean, he would have been on the roster this year. By the way,
he's a free agent. He's a free agent this year.
No, he would have been on the roster. I guarantee to you.
Oh my God,
been on the roster this year for sure. You go ahead and pull anything up because Mozgov is still on that roster in Orlando, sitting and collecting his checks. So I know for a fact he had 2 years left on that deal. They had to buy him out, and so that they can have free money this summer to work on him. So they're going to pay him 5 years this year and $5 million when he would have been off the books next year as well, and then they'll be rid of him in 2021.
America.
Here we go.
He's wrong. Wait, what did I do? Hold on.
The funny thing is we can do this on camera now.
Yep. I can't edit this out though. But look, America, he's wrong. That $5 million every other year is when that's what he's due from the Lakers after getting waived. So he officially comes off the books if they would have kept him this year. All right. So it was just a dumb move. Yeah.
It was a 4-year deal. We'll argue. We'll let one of our viewers kind of fix this up. I've got a guy who's like Bobby Marks. So I mean, we're good.
Don't worry. Call your boy. Ask him when that contract would have expired. Because I just showed it to you right now. I mean, unless your boy has some like inside information that like the rest of America doesn't have. I mean, but I mean, yeah, it was bad timing.
I'm gonna send this podcast to Eric Pincus and probably send it to Arash Markazi and then they'll go ahead and chime on this. All right, you got that?
Yeah, they're gonna be like, who are these guys who can't remember names and are showing iPads to the TV or TV? I mean, what? I'm way off today, man. Hey, long day. It's Monday. Give me a break, all right? First time on camera. Give me a break, all right? Dave, I think that is a good place to end here. Anything you want to say to the folks watching or listening?
I hope you enjoy it this way. I hope this is cool. I couldn't do a lot of things I would normally do when the camera's not on. I probably would have scratched somewhere else, and who knows. But I mean, in any case, this was something, and I hope the viewers love viewing us.
Yeah, and folks, I mean, I know today was not the best production, but I promise you we're going to be improving. You won't be seeing these funky backgrounds anymore once we get this channel up off the ground. The lighting is going to be better. I'm going to remember people's names. Oh, you know what? I do that on the podcast too. So I probably will forget names for the rest of eternity, as long as I live and as long as I talk about basketball. But that man over there, or wherever he is, I don't know where he is. He will be there to support me and be the wind beneath my wings when I forget people's names. So with that, folks, make sure that you follow us on Instagram at the Open Look Podcast. For David Hanna, I am John the Podcaster. We will see you next time.